Choose Your Legends, a yearly event held in Fire Emblem Heroes. This event brings us a hand-picked banner of 4 heroes chosen by the fans. It's worth noting that at the time of Heroes' release, Fire Emblem wasn't nearly as popular then as it is now. This is somewhat reflected in the Round 1 winners all being from Smash, aside from Lyn, sorta, as well as Awakening and Fate's characters dominating the top 10s. Considering they were the most recent titles at the time, and likely people's first games, so it's no surprise. An issue you may notice is the vote splitting. As you can see, Ike is both 1st and 5th place. So, had Radiant Dawn Ike placed 2nd, we would have gotten 2 Ikes apparently. Despite splitting characters' votes between their different iterations, if one wins, the other would be removed from the voting pool. I'll talk about this issue further later, as it'll be relevant. The first round was held before Heroes had even been released, so at the time, people didn't even know what this was going to amount to. After round 1, it would become one of, if not the most anticipated aspects of the game. A massive community-driven event, but was this actually any good? Despite the event being called Choose Your Legends, time and time again, most, if not all the winners each year are characters that are either the main character or have leading roles in their entry. 24 of the current 32 winners are main characters or are featured prominently on the cover of their respective games. And I'm not counting Soren because, well, that's one way to bury your gaze. 2 more of them also technically fall under the category of prominently featured with Veronica and Golvig. So that leaves 6 characters that aren't functionally main characters. Of these 6, 5 are from 3 houses. This leads me to inquire, is Choose Your Legends even an apt description? You can vote for almost any character from any title, barring random NPCs. And when I say random, I mean random. Some are included for no reason, while others that would fall under the same category just aren't for some reason. This means any character you deem as a favorite, you can vote for. Can you look at this list of characters and tell me that the vast majority of the player base would deem most, if not all of these as their favorites? Do you believe those people would even have these characters as their favorite from their titles? Who actually has any of the Avatar characters as their favorite? Of all the avatars, Byleth is my favorite because it at least feels like they tried to make the silent protagonist shtick actually part of their character. But even then, I wouldn't consider Byleth a good character, or even a favorite one. SodaCrab's video on Avatar summarizes my thoughts on them in Fire Emblem, so I'd recommend checking that video out. The only thing I'd really like to add to that is, avatars like Byleth and Alear feel completely pointless because there's no customization for them at all. It's one thing to let players choose the protagonist's gender, but it feels like avatars are only an excuse to justify half-assing the main character's writing, rather than a way to try and give players more immersion in the story. With Shez, and Robin to an extent, feeling like the only realized characters that happen to be avatars. Derailment aside, there's also the main lords people pick. I don't doubt people love them in their own right, but this adamant about it? When I think of my favorites, they're always the ones who stood out in either gameplay or personality. And while any main lord, but Roy, is typically designed to stand out in that regard, they don't stick out because that's expected of them, much the same way as them getting ults in Heroes. From Binding Blade alone, Narcian, Rutger, Clarine, Geese, Gonzalez, Yoder, Sue, Kath, Larum, and even Sagoon is a minor enemy. These are all standout characters that I consider to be legends. Did I mention I hate this game, by the way? Obviously, not everyone's gonna walk away with the same favorites as me, but you'd expect them to walk away with more than the ones on the box. But hey, if you genuinely like someone like Alear and want them to win, good on you. Support them as hard as you can. It's your legend, so it's your choice. That's your prerogative and no one can tell you any different. It's like I always say, hate the bozo, not the clown. While I was glad to see Gatekeeper and Marianne finally put away this notion that only main characters could win, this was the sign of a fallacy that would begin to manifest in full force. Tribalism. Everything changed when 3 houses joined the fray. From the first year it was eligible to be voted for, it was a full sweep. All 3 main lords had won, and Lysithea and Bernie were battling it out for second in the women's division. Not only that, but most of the top 20 was flooded with 3 houses characters. I'd also like to add a bit of context. IS schedules what units they add within a certain time frame. After the launch of Three Houses, we wouldn't receive a banner for it outside of the initial promotion for the whole year, conveying IS didn't believe in this shit if anything. You could say it was them being modest, not wanting to shove it down our throats, but this led to the player base that fell in love with these characters to make a Three Houses banner on their own. While Three Houses had proven its appeal across the board entirely, the three main lords still clearly took priority for people. This meant there was the possibility that the competition would fall apart next year in the face of more main characters being backed, and the characters being added into the game in the meantime. Well, IS didn't fucking learn. And if I recall correctly, even in the following year they were slow to meet the demand for Three Houses content. Marianne and Gatekeeper would then prove that Choose Your Legends could actually be about choosing your legends. The only problem was, this had only been true for Three Houses. Three Houses is without a doubt the most popular entry yet, so the overwhelming showing of that fact is reflected in most of its cast flooding the top 20 consistently since its release. This is where people began to see Three Houses fans as a tribe, missing the irony in that fallacy. They decided to form factions behind main characters to combat this made-up Three Houses tribe. The reality is, most people voting for Lysithea, Gatekeeper, Marianne, the Three House leaders, they didn't all go, "Yippee! Time to vote for another Three Houses character." They just moved on to whoever else they wanted to win. Then you see people saying, Engagers' votes are too spread out. Three Houses fans this, Awakening fans that. This isn't a fucking gang war, dog. I'm not voting Narcian because I'm a die-hard Binding Blader. I'm voting for him because he's funny. If he somehow won, I wouldn't go, "Time to get Sheffielded up, lads!" No. Fuck him. I'm voting for the only good character in Engage next. This weird mentality that Three Houses fans are setting up shop all around the top 20 like it's fucking gang territory is just belittling the fact that people actually love these characters, regardless of the title they hail from. Tellius fans aren't planning a fucking uprising with Mia and Black Knight. Mia has die-hard fans, and I'm proud of you for making sure she constantly makes top 20 sunshine or rain, with the only outlier having her in 21st place. If anything, she's proof that even without being a mainstream character, you can crack the top 20 so long as fans put their faith into it. And Black Knight is just funny. Also, it means IS is probably going to spoil his identity again. Surely success is just a recency bias issue. How will we ever beat the Three Housers? It's the Three Hosers! It's all over now. Engage is gonna sweep. Don't get me wrong, Engage had a lot of high placements, but the characters weren't as popular as these already established ones that had already been doing consistently well. It was very clearly a loud minority claiming or dooming an Engage sweep was over the horizon. In the end, they flopped. In my opinion, Ivy should never win and always place third. Not because I hate her or her fans, but because winning would be out of character. Instead of derailing this video about Choose Your Legends with a mini video essay on Engage, here's a tier list of how I feel about the characters to speedrun pissing off Engage fans. And so we're clear, I'm not too big on the top contenders. Maybe I'll make a video about Engage someday, but that's neither here nor there. Engage fans are at least supporting their favorites as well. But like I stated earlier, I don't think the fans voting for these characters will move on to someone else on this list. They're going to move to their next choice. Be they adjacent to their last choice or entirely different. They aren't all coordinating together, and they shouldn't be. The only case where this tribalist mentality feels warranted is Tokyo Mirage Sessions. TMS fans can't choose a favorite because they're fighting for goddamn crumbs. IS. You see them constantly making the top 20. Read the fucking room! This all aside, it's reassuring to see all of Engage's main cast getting stomped by Alphonse, Robin, and Scrimblow friends, because it meant this supposed recency bias people were peddling about Three Houses' success wasn't remotely true. There are a multitude of factors that affect how well characters do. Character popularity, character treatment in Heroes, declining interest in voting, be it in general or because no character they care about is left. These are all just a few of the different factors that impact placement, and to act like any particular one is the sole reason, you're missing the forest for the trees. But now's a good time to begin discussing another fallacy. The defeatist mentality. This fallacy is so deeply rooted we likely won't see a full batch of non-main characters winning. At least, not until all of them have already won. I can't vote for Shannon and even pretend to believe he has a chance. Cause I know not one of you fuckers is actually based. If most of the characters I wanted to vote for had that level of popularity, I probably wouldn't bother voting myself, but that's the problem. People feel like they have to be voting for the tribe target to make a meaningful impact in the event. Need I remind you, this event is called Choose Your Legends. Instead, it's all about, guys, we need to focus in on X character. If anything, I want this video to be a wake-up call, because the community has lost the script. At the end of the day, it's a popularity contest. And artificial popularity, built upon competition's sake, is always going to be a boring and unrewarding outcome. I feel IS is making baby steps to combat this mentality at least, introducing all these weird tertiary metrics. The Rising Heroes, that didn't really go anywhere. This year it was charting out the top 5 in each entry. Hopefully these mean something this time. Before I move on to absolve the community of all the blame, it would be undue, before discussing the full extent of the utter depravity during these events, the unmitigated toxicity over the years that has contributed to this tribalistic behavior, and no doubt discouraged people from even bothering to vote for their favorites. It began immediately with round 2. The midterm results revealed Camilla was currently second place. Camilla is a character people either love or completely hate. She has big tits, she has ass, she's a Fates character. Oh boy! There's absolutely nothing else to her character. There's no possible way someone could see something else in her character. No. It's just that. Everyone voting for her is a degenerate. There's nobody that genuinely likes her. This is all to say, the midterm results led to all her haters baby raging and forming a faction in an effort to get her out, already beginning this antagonistic behavior towards other people's favorites. Once again, I remind you, choose your legends, not spite someone else's. I'm not a huge Camilla fan, but I like what there is to go off of for her personality and character. She just suffers from being in Fates. In a brighter light, though, Veronica was in 5th place, and at this point in the game's history, we were on Book 2. Book 1 didn't really do much with Veronica as the main antagonist, and Book 2 straight up sidelined her for an actual filler arc. So there were actually people excited to see her make it this far, causing people to rally for her. It was something else to see not 3rd or 4th place pushed to 2nd, but 5th. This magic wouldn't last, as people would start accusing Veronica voters of being pedos as a blanket statement, ignoring any and all sentiments behind why people actually wanted her to win. Topped off with the fact that, naturally, Veronica no doubt received spite votes towards Camilla, muddying everything. What should have been a joyous celebration turned into a bloodbath. Why can't you people just let 2 bad bitches coexist? This is all in a stark contrast to the men's division at this point. If anything, the results for males were always boring. We'd see the midterm results go, yep, and that would just be the end result as well, with no one faced. When it came to the next year, however, there was an upset for Marth that was only seen as funny. People seeing Ellawood in 3rd during midterms and going, I like Ellawood, I'll vote for him. There no doubt were people mad about the result, but it was nowhere near as widespread or vitriolic. But this was also another year for Camilla placing high. Being first during midterms caused people to baby rage over Camilla potentially stealing the first place privilege from Akaya. Camilla would place 2nd in the end. However, this round also had another subplot going on. Anna, a character in the series who is known for showing up as multiple different incarnations, had not gotten a single alt up until this point, so people decided to rally together to give her one. She'd placed 6th in midterms and ended up falling short of 2nd by quite a bit. This was exacerbated by a stupid rule IS had, where a character with multiple incarnations would have their votes split, and not everyone voted for the same Anna. IS eventually changed this policy, but it still applies to Anna. Great. She at least started getting alts, so most people just moved on. But in the moment, this had led to people mauling over Camilla again, because Anna is nowhere near as divisive a character. This is the issue though. Since Camilla was public enemy number 1, her fans had to do everything to ensure she could even stay in the top 2. It's no longer a fun celebration of your character, it's a fucking war zone. If you don't fight to kill, you die. This mentality would ultimately erupt into a hellstorm during round 5. Gatekeeper would shock the world when he managed to place second in the midterm results. This was a joyous occasion, no doubt. People excited to see a nobody crack top 2. A nobody that so many people genuinely loved for who and what he was. An inspirational tale. Truly a character fitting the title of Chosen Legend. These results alone were enough for some. They could rest easy, and hey, if he lost, he was still high up enough to know that there was interest to have him put in the game. However, that's not what happened. People actually offended by the notion that someone would dare choose their legend. Heresy! He's a joke character. Fucking memes ruining the integrity of this sacred tradition. He's just an NPC! This vitriolic opposition, like Camilla before, had dire repercussions. And they would be far more explosive than anyone could have anticipated. Gatekeeper would finish first in perhaps the largest landslide victory in Choose Your Legend's history. This massive surge was not only brought on by people who wanted to see him win, there were those upset with the community's reaction to Gatekeeper's placement and chose to support him in spite of them. But it didn't stop there. People outside of the Fire Emblem community had seen the whining and gatekeeping, in the irony of the man literally being called Gatekeeper, and stepped in to vote for him. Truly symbolic if you think about it. In this context, this outside community could be considered a nameless NPC, and they stepped in to support an NPC. This end result was deserved on all fronts. Gatekeeper was a legend that people chose, and the disgusting response to his success was punished as harshly as it possibly could have been. Marianne won. Yippee! There was still some discourse in the women's division, but Gatekeeper had been a lightning rod for all the controversy. This is all separate from the cruel journey of Bernie. Oh, Bernie. If she didn't have enough trauma from her actual life, the real world would be piling on even fucking harder. Bernadetta is another character like Camilla, that's widely loved or utterly despised. It's always the fucking purple hair, man. Year after year after year after year. Get kept out of the top 2. All while the community berated and belittled her fans for daring to like a character. I like Bernie. I don't think I can fix her, and I don't want to. I just want the girl to experience happiness and joy in her life. I struggle in social scenarios and internally feel like her sometimes. While I may not have experienced horrible trauma to make me this way, I relate to her and want to root for her success in life. Because in a sense, if she can manage to stick it out, then so can I. So it's utterly reprehensible when I see people trying to label all fans as wanting to fix her or some other base level blanket statement. These characters actually mean something to people. You don't have to understand them, and you sure as hell don't need to act like you do so you can ridicule them in some vain attempt to feel morally superior. Bernie is only one of my favorite characters that experience this toxicity. But I don't say this for me, not for her, or not for other Bernie fans. This sentiment is for everyone that has been belittled or ridiculed for even liking and voting for their favorite character. I voted Bernadetta years 1 and 2 of her run. After that, I'd given up because it felt pointless. Camilla was able to win on her bounce back year, but Bernie couldn't bounce back. Year 1 Bernie's Academy arc was the preferred version, and I think that's because everyone else was keen to the fact that a Brave Academy arc Bernie would be an oxymoron. That being said, after year 1, it was always her time skip version, which speaks to how much people actually cared about her rather than the oxymoronic joke. I threw her 3 votes out of pity this year. I expected Yunaka and Ivy to win this time, and for Bernie to start dropping further. However, she did it. Bernie won. To all the Bernie haters that were adamant she never won, fuck you. I hope the next jar you open explodes. To all the Bernie haters that just voted for their favorite regardless, good job. Proud of you for behaving like a functioning member of society. This toxicity had gotten so out of hand, I'm pretty sure it's what led to IS now showing the top 20 interim results in alphabetical order instead. There's no reason to rally against someone if you don't even know their placement. Encouraging people to rally behind someone because they'd actually like to see them win. However, this is the end of the story for the outrageous toxicity. Not because it disappeared, but because it's time to talk about the stagnation. It's no shock that over the years, interest in Choose Your Legends has declined. We've had 8 of these. This game has been around for 7 years now. Naturally, people are gonna lose interest over that long a time frame. Be it loss of interest in the game itself or just not being invested in any of the remaining contenders. Someone on Reddit compiled a chart of the drop-off in engagement over the years, and something of note is the 5th round having a massive drop. This is in part because I believe this was when IS decided to enforce logging into an account in order to vote. I want to take a quick look at all the brave heroes through the years for a moment, because IS isn't doing these numbers any favors. This is them all categorized. Alm and Celica's designs are based off of their original designs in Gaiden. After that, you have characters whose designs are based on family, which a sizable portion are directly that of their own father. In Lynn's case, it says the accessories are from her father, but we've never seen him, so take that with a grain of salt. Below that, you have the other category, the most lazy, uninspired one. Designs that are just their in-game promotion, standard class, or post-game attire. As you can see, a majority of them fall under here, and most of the brave heroes after the 3rd round fall under this category. Hell, I remember when round 4 happened, and afterwards people were immediately speculating what classes the winners could be, because in 3 houses, characters had hidden talents, so there was room for a lot of interesting ways to implement that as their brave hero version, and then they just made them their normal class. Brilliant. With Marianne being somewhat of an outlier, at least being a class that's optional. And lastly, you have Tiki, who, while cute on paper, was a spit in the face in practice. People wanted adult Tiki to win because we would get a million young Tiki alts and never adult Tiki ones. Not since the crack of 17. People just wanted to see some respect on adult Tiki's name. Then IS said, we like young Tiki more, fuck you. This outfit would have been better for an Ascended or a rearmed Tiki, but that's the problem I have with the designs based from the games. We now have legendary heroes, rearmed heroes, and ascended heroes, and it definitely feels like these designs would be better suited for those. The point of this all being, designs for brave heroes have become so stale, boring, and predictable that no one really cares. Even when people's favorites win, they're often disappointed with the final design because they're uninspired and lazy. This is made worse when you consider the fact female Byleth won with her pre-awakening form, being the clear version people wanted to see, yet IS said, fuck that, we're just gonna make her awaken Sothis anyway. What's the point of letting people choose if you're not gonna listen anyways? The designs over the years have only reflected a lack of interest in designing brave heroes to be unique. The fact we didn't get Pantless Marth still stings to this day. I think the most egregious thing done with a winner is Golvig, which I didn't vote for Golvig. I'll admit, making her win Choose Your Legends was pure genius. A 4D chess move by Kieran. How do we defeat this seemingly undefeatable foe who has absolute control over time? Vote! Vote now! This presented a hilarious turn of events where players actively attempted to resolve a plot by extreme means. Considering Brave Hero banners tend to release toward the end of books, it'd be fitting if we summoned a version of Golvig to fight by our side to turn the tides. And IS's response to this gambit would be to ignore it entirely. Only another sign that they themselves aren't very interested or even engaged with these events. Remember how earlier in the video I mentioned how fans had to use this event to make a 3 Houses banner? This has sort of become the secondary meta of the event. The event went from an unofficial promotion of yet unreleased characters, with the Farfetch'd banners the first few years, to this is literally the only thing worth doing in this event if you even care about a character. Hell, I voted twice for Jade this year simply because I know she's not popular, but hopefully with a high enough placement, she'll be on IS's radar and she might get added. Thank you all for your service. This is all leading to the complete stagnation of this supposed momentous occasion. If IS can't be bothered to care about Choose Your Legends, why should the player base? The player base could completely change their mentality today and start voting for their actual favorites regardless of their perceived odds, and this event would still be a snore, so long as IS doesn't turn things around. We can only hope that the brave versions of this year's winners reflects a change in IS's approach. Otherwise, I don't think this event will ever be worth anyone's care. So, to conclude things, Choose Your Legends is a lie. At worst, it's an event that isn't about choosing your legends. It's about choosing who you think will win, or choosing whoever you think is going to be able to beat out the characters you hate. At best, it's choosing who you want to have a chance to be added to the game. The complete apathy in these events from IS makes any investment feel completely meaningless. This event fucking sucks, and it shouldn't. That being said, I want to end this video encouraging everyone to choose their legends. Be they Lord, Avatar, or Rutger and Lelina. At the end of the day, none of these characters deserve to win. They earn their place as our legends. Be it their personality, their utility as a unit, or even the lasting impact they've had on us. I only hope that IS starts to respect those legends, or this event will forever remain a lie.